Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today once again with the Beastmen, going to be taking them up against the Skaven, who are sitting down in that Dark Elf camp down there, so definitely in for a good time. Let's go ahead and jump straight to the army compositions. For the Beastmen, we're led by Morker the Shadowgave. We've also got a Brave Shaman Lore of Wild on a chariot here. No Cygor summon shenanigans here. Just good old-fashioned Viletide and Evolve for that direct magic damage and to proc that Vigor buff, keeping in mind that Lore of Wild, of course, gives that 9% Vigor every time you cast a spell, meaning it'll keep your troops fighting fresh. In terms of the infantry line, we've got a mix of Goreherds with shields, 3 of those. We've got 2 Best Goreherd. Out on the flanks, we've got 4 Ungor Spearman Herd, 2 on this flank and 2 out here. We've also got 1 unit of Razorgore Chariots. Hidden in the forest here, we've got 2 units of Centaurs with throwing axes. And in the forest on the far side, we have 3 units of regular Centaurs. So this is the variant that I like to take against the Skaven. You don't necessarily need the armor piercing in melee, so it's better to have the miss block chance and, slightly higher charge bonus. I believe at least they have a slightly higher charge bonus. Could be wrong about that, but still. For the Skaven build here, his forces are going to be led by Lord Skrolk, so looking to get that Liber Bubonicus potentially. He's got an assassin, looks like 2 assassins, Doomwheel, 2 Poison Wind Globadiers, Storm Vermin with Halberd, Warp Lightning Cannon, and the front line is Skaven Slaves mixed with some Clan Rats and Plague Monks. Looks like 3 Plague Monks, 2 Clan Rats, couple Skaven Slave Spears, and the Storm Vermin in the rear. So, pretty decent build overall. The one issue that my opponent is going to have is this terrain is not very favorable to a direct line of fire artillery like that Warp Lightning Cannon. So, I mean, it's going to have a hard time shooting through this dense forest over here on the sides of the map, as well as, this kind of hill here in the center. But we are going to keep most of my large targets out towards the flanks and the periphery. I failed to mention here there were actually some units of Skaven, a couple Skaven Slaves, and some Night Runners out here, who are immediately going to be charged into by the throwing axe Centaurs, who, although they are a skirmish cab, do some pretty decent damage in melee, so no huge risk in charging them in here. You can see they've already done quite a bit of damage to these Night Runners and these Skaven Slaves. Meanwhile, over on this other flank, we are bringing around this other unit of Centaurs and getting into the back of these unbraced Skaven Slave Spears here. Definitely going to be taking them out in relatively short order. And we're also getting a nice free charge into the Plague Monks here. They're going to take quite a bit of shock damage and charge into the side of the, let's see, these Storm Vermin here as well. Unfortunately, I am going to not micro these guys super effectively. I should be pulling out right away with these guys especially. Storm Vermin are a no-joke unit, but my opponent doing a very good job in just turning and immediately firing in with those Poison Wind Globadiers. This unit of Centaurs is pretty much already done for. But we actually did rout off that Skaven Slave Spear, and all across the main line fight you can see the Plague Monks and Clan Rats going to be fighting up against the Best Goreherd and the Goreherds with shields. Plague Monks, if they're able to get on the Goreherds with shields, will do relatively well. But here comes the Chariots as well. Goreherd Chariots going to be running chop in here, getting a really nice charge. It looks like a bit of a Wither going down, probably, or maybe Blessed with Filth, actually. Really nice Viletide there, disrupting those Poison Wind Globadiers. Unfortunately, we did lose the 2 units of Centaurs over on this side. However, the 1 unit, I believe, is still secure here. Yep, they're going to be inundating on these Poison Wind Globadiers, not allowing them to continue to fire away. The Doomwheel as well has been just trapped in with these high mass units this whole time. He hasn't been able to use it to run shop on the infantry, and as a result, we've been able to clean up the Clan Rats and the Plague Monks for the most part here in the center pocket. The Chaos Spawn summons now being called up by Morker here, and we've got one over here on this pocket, and we should be pulling up another one relatively shortly here. Fortunately, the Doomwheel does terrify away those Ungor Spearman Herd, but, the Bestigor are coming in as well as these Goreherds with shields, so we should be able to keep that, keep that Doomwheel locked down. Meanwhile, Storm Vermin with Halberds unfortunately getting these Centaurs, but it's all good. We are pulling around, and now that the throwing axes are free from the woods, we're going to be able to pull them around here and get some throwing axes potentially right on that Doomwheel. The Chariots just being used to zone out these units, then keep them from coming back from routing. Really nice charge here with the Centaurs straight into those Poison Wind Globadiers, just going to be disrupting their formation, and again, preventing them from firing. And Stormvermin with halberds are not going to do super great up against, lower tier infantry like warhordes with shields. They really don't have that great of combat stats at the end of the day. But we have been able to deal with most of the Skaven infantry here. Lord Skrulk is a little bit surrounded by this Brave Shaman here and these Chaos Spawns, so he's definitely in for a rough time. Looks like the Vestigor are actually just looking at him. They weren't actually doing too many attack animations there, but all good. The other unit of Chaos Spawn being summoned up here and just finishing off that Doom Wheel, going to shatter it. And once the Doom Wheel shatters, it should be relatively short order to see off the rest. The Poison Wind Globadiers also being shattered by those Centigors, and the Chariot's still relatively healthy as well. This center pocket now being collapsed also by the Beastmen, who are no joke right now. Beastmen definitely one of the stronger factions, and especially on a map like this where the terrain favors that, kind of quick rush ambush style. Definitely rough to deal with this Skaven. So in terms of an army breakdown here, yeah, really rough day for the Warp Lightning Cannon. Just really didn't have the terrain to make pay for itself, make itself worthwhile. So I would have maybe liked to see these guys as the Gutter Runners, since they do have that slow as well, but I understand he was trying to cut costs a little bit here. Poison Wind Globadiers are a decent unit, and they can kill something like Minotaurs pretty fast. You guys saw how fast they were able to finish off those Centigors. The one unit of Centigors, though, that didn't get killed by them quickly was able to get an XP chevron. 54 kills on the Razorgore Chariot, and it was hardly touched, and the Centigors with throwing axes also racking up quite a few kills. Let's see here, what else? We've also got 85 kills on these Ungor Spearman Herd, pretty decent. All across the infantry line here, doing relatively well, kind of even spread for the most part. For my opponent, the Storm Vermin with halberds, I do like that pick here. Plague Monks are always a good unit, although these guys fared a little bit rough up against those Vestigor. You definitely want to bring Wither with Lord Skrulk. I'm not sure if my opponent did, but in terms of fighting the Beastmen here, let's go ahead and take a look at what the Ratmen can do. It is one of the tougher matchups, I think, for the Skaven, but let's go ahead and talk about a couple things here. So Lord Skrulk, I do like this pick, although Morker is going to be a pretty meta pick in this matchup, and if we go over here and we look at Morker, we can kind of see why. First of all, he has regeneration, meaning he's super tanky. Skaven don't really have a lot of fire damage, so there's not too much to worry about there. He, of course, also has missile and magic resistance, so 25% magic, 75% missile resistance. So magic missiles like Poison Wind Globes or the Warp Lightning Cannon is going to do 0 damage to him. Likewise, Libra Bubonicus is not going to be super efficient against him. You definitely want to cast it on another caster or Gorbel if they bring either of those things, and they bring Morker as the Lord. It's a little bit of a waste. I mean, it still does quite a bit of damage, even at 25% magic resistance, but, maybe more worthwhile to cast it on something like a Gorbel. In terms of spells here, I do like the Wither to tear away the armor of Vestigor. It allows the Plague Monks to trade much more effectively there. You can either bring the Plague Monk summon or bring the Clan Rat summon as well. Potentially this Pestilent Breath can be very good also. Pestilent Breath, rather, because it does a lot of damage against low armor targets. Pretty decent, against the Beastmen. So something like this, if you are going to bring Lord Skrulk, bring him in, that kind of guys. Maybe bring the Rod of Corruption. It's a bit tough to say, but in terms of the infantry line, I do like the pick of the Plague Monks. You can grab a few of those guys. I would say it's pretty smart to screen here because, again, the Beastmen have relatively low armor. They're going to be somewhat susceptible to the Gutter Runners, so you can bring a few of those. The Warp Lightning Cannon is not bad, although on that particular map, I would not bring one. The Storm Vermin's a good pick, so I'd bring one of those, maybe get some of these guys, and honestly some Skaven Slave Slingers might not be bad. They can pay for themselves really easy against the low armor of the Beastmen. So we've got some Skaven Slave Spears, we've got some Slings, let's see what else, probably an Assassin Buddy for Skrulk. We can go ahead and cut Slippery, and let's see what else. We could bring a Warlock for the Drain, go ahead and cut all his spells here, and this is something that I sometimes do with the Warlock Engineer. With no spells only cost 350, then you come grab this Warpstone Armor, gives him that constant drain effect for only 583 points. Definitely pretty decent. I don't know if this is the best army to go up against the Beastmen, but something like this with a lot of missiles, you have some decent anti-large options as well. You could probably just throw in, probably a couple of these guys maybe, cut one of them, just something like that maybe. That can be pretty decent. Gets a lot of troops to manage, but at the same time, the missiles is going to be really nice. You could potentially play with this Lord situation as well. If you really want to bring a Plague Furnace, that can be pretty decent. You can always cut Lord Scroll, can bring a different Lord. Let's see what we could do if we did something like this. Bring the Bonebreaker Warlord. He's reasonable here, although he can get put down by something like Gorbel relatively easily. So we can do this. We'll go ahead and cut Rally and the Deadly Onslaught and just give him the escape ability. And, we can come in here and now grab the Plague Priest on the Furnace. That's going to give you an additional drain effect, although it is significantly expensive. So we're going to need to cut some costs here. So we can go ahead and cut there. And, we're still not quite there. Honestly, you could probably go ahead and just cut one of these Gut Runners here. Something like that. Might be decent up against the Beastmen. It is a tough matchup for the Skaven, but potentially winnable. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I keep it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.